Have you ever stopped to think about how tiny, almost invisible changes can lead to absolutely massive results? Well, today we are diving deep into Atomic Habits by James Clear to figure out the surprising power behind all those little things we do every single day.
But to really get to the heart of this, we've got to start with a moment of total crisis. A moment when, for the author, everything changed with one single devastating blow.
So picture this. James Clear is in his sophomore year of high school. A baseball game. A loose bat comes flying through the air and hits him directly between the eyes. The impact literally shattered his skull and caused his brain to swell up. I mean, it was bad.
He's at the hospital, and a nurse leans over and asks him a really simple question, just to see if he's all there. She says, "What year is it?" He confidently answers, 1998. Here's the thing. It was 2002. His brain was so scrambled from the hit that he lost 4 entire years. And if that wasn't terrifying enough, it took him a full 10 seconds, an eternity, just to remember his own mother's name. Soon after, he lost consciousness and was put into a medically induced coma. It was going to be a long, long road back. And that rock-bottom moment is really what brings us to the central idea of this whole book. You see, Clear's recovery wasn't some big heroic event. It happened slowly, in college, where he stumbled upon the incredible power of making small, consistent improvements. And what's really interesting is that his first habits seem, almost trivial, right? Going to bed early, keeping your room tidy. But these were the first steps. They didn't take a ton of willpower, but they gave him something he desperately needed, a sense of control. They helped him build his confidence back one tiny win at a time. This is what led him to the core philosophy of the book, the principle of getting just 1% better every single day. It doesn't sound like much, I know, but the magic is that these tiny gains, they compound over time into truly remarkable, unbelievable results. And if you want to see this idea in action, just look at the story of the British cycling team. For nearly 100 years, they were pretty much a joke. In 110 years, they had never, not once, won a Tour de France. Then, in 2003, they brought in a new performance director who changed everything with this 1% philosophy. They called it the aggregation of marginal gains, which is really just a fancy way of saying they looked for a 1% improvement in everything. I mean, everything. Some of it was obvious, like redesigning the bike seats. But they went deeper. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders how to wash their hands properly to avoid getting sick. They even painted the inside of the team truck white, just so they could spot tiny bits of dust that might mess with the finely tuned bikes. And the results? Well, they were absolutely staggering. After a century with 0 wins, British cyclists won 5 Tour de France titles in just 6 years. It was all because of the compounding effect of hundreds of these tiny improvements. Okay, so that's the what, the incredible power of 1%. But how do you actually do it in your own life? Well, Clear breaks it down into the super simple, practical framework he calls the 4 laws of behavior change. Think of these as the 4 levers you can pull to build any good habit. First, you have to make it obvious. Second, you got to make it attractive. Third, make it easy. And finally, number 4, you need to make it satisfying. And what's so brilliant about this is that the whole framework just works in reverse. If you want to break a bad habit, you just invert the laws. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. It's a complete system for redesigning your entire life. But this whole framework, it actually leads to the deepest and, honestly, the most powerful insight of the entire book. It's about what we're really trying to change when we work on our habits. See, most of us start at the surface layer, the outcomes. This is about what we want to get. Lose weight, write a book, finish a marathon. It's all about the result. The next layer down is our process. This is about what we do. It's our routines, our systems, like hitting the gym or finally cleaning off our desk. But the deepest layer, the one that really drives everything, is our identity. It's about what we believe about ourselves. And this is the key. True, lasting behavior change is actually identity change. Just think about the difference for a second. Focusing on an outcome, like, I want to run a marathon, is temporary. What happens after you cross that finish line? But focusing on, I want to become a runner, that's a fundamental shift in who you are. The goal isn't the finish line anymore. The goal is to live out that new identity every day. So that all sounds great, but how in the world do you start building a new identity?
I mean, it can feel like this huge, impossible leap. But Clear offers one incredibly simple, almost laughably easy rule to get started.
It's called the 2-minute rule, and the whole idea is to make starting the habit so ridiculously easy that you just can't say no. You're not trying to achieve the whole goal right away. You're just mastering the art of showing up.
So let's take a big, intimidating goal, like I'm going to run 3 miles.
With the 2-minute rule, that becomes tie my running shoes. That's it. Anyone can do that, right? And here's the kicker. Once your shoes are on, you're so much more likely to actually head out the door. You just ritualize the very beginning, and the rest tends to follow.
And that brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. Thinking about your own life, what's one 2-minute habit you could start today? What's that one tiny change that, if you just stick with it, could start compounding into a truly remarkable result?